Hello, fourth graders. Welcome to Chapter 2, our chapter about estimation, and this is Lesson 1. In this lesson, we're going to be rounding numbers to estimate sums, differences, products, and quotients. We will also be estimating to check that an answer is reasonable. And finally, we will decide whether an estimate or an exact answer is needed. So what I want you to do now is I want you to open up your notebooks, and I want you to set up your vocabulary notes to look just like mine. I need you to pause the video and make sure that the top of your page says Chapter 2 Vocabulary and that you have your 2-column notes with word on the left and definition on the right. All right, now what I need you to do is pause your video again and copy down these 3 vocab words and their definitions. All right, and I'm going to need you to pause the video one more time to write down these 3 words and definitions as well. Okay, so this is our first learn of the lesson. So this is the part where you're going to be listening and watching, and I'm going to be teaching. In just a couple minutes, when you see guided learning, that's when you'll get your notebook out and start taking notes. So on this slide, we're going to use rounding to check the reasonableness of sums and differences. So reasonableness, remember from your notes, means does our actual answer make sense? Okay, so in this problem, it says Eva's Market sold 196 jars of grape jelly in September. In October, the market sold 389 jars. How many jars of grape jelly did they sell over the 2 months? So we know this is an addition problem because they want to know how many jars they sold in all or over the 2 months. What we would want to do is we want to add 196 to 389. So I would do this with my standard algorithm. Add each of the place values together, the ones first, then the tens, and then the hundreds. And then I would get my actual answer of 585 jars of grape jelly altogether. So now what I want to do is I want to see, does my actual answer make sense? Is it reasonable? In order to check that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to estimate to check that the answer is reasonable. Estimate is, again, just like our vocab said, making a smart guess. We want to use rounding to find friendly tens, hundreds, thousands, and so on, because numbers with zeros help a lot when we're doing quick addition, subtraction, etc. So what I want to do is I want to round each of those numbers to the nearest 100 and then add them together. When I round to the nearest 100, I want to circle the place I'm rounding to, so in this case the hundreds place, and then I'm going to underline the digit to the right, so in this case the 9. My strategy is 5 or more, we let it soar. 4 or less, we let it rest. So in this case, my underlying number is 9, which is greater than 5. So that means I'm going to let it soar or add 1 to the hundreds place. So if I added 1 to the hundreds place, I would get 2. And then all the numbers to the right turn to 0. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the next number. I'm going to circle the hundreds place because I'm rounding to the nearest 100. I'm going to underline the tens place, and I have an 8 there. So again, 8 is greater than 5, so I'm going to let it soar and add 1 to that hundreds place to give me 4, and then all the rest of the numbers turn to 0. So now I have 200 plus 400. That's a lot friendlier problem than 196 plus 389. Again, it's not the exact answer, but we want to get close to our actual. So 200 plus 400 is 600. 600 is pretty close to 585, so we can say our answer is reasonable or it makes sense. Okay, so now what I want you to do is open your notebook. This is a guided learning page, so you are going to be answering this problem in your notebook. So what I need you to do is pause the video now, read the question, and answer it in your notebook. All right, welcome back, fourth graders. So you should have 2 different answers in your notebook. The first one you should have is the actual answer, so actually subtracting these 2 numbers and getting 333. Then you're going to use rounding to the nearest 100 to check that your answer is reasonable. So you should have gotten 800 when you rounded 786 and 500 when you rounded 453 to the nearest 100. Subtracting those 2 numbers gets you to 300. 300 is very close to 333, so we can say our answer is reasonable. If you didn't get that answer, I want you to go back to the learn and watch it again to make sure that you understand what to do. All right, again, I want you to pause the video, answer these 2 questions in your notebook. All right, welcome back. The first question, you should have gotten an actual answer of 13,883. And then you should have rounded, it said, to the nearest 100 to get 9,600. And then rounding again to the nearest 100 to get 4,300. Adding those together to get 13,900. Your answer should be reasonable. It's very close. The next problem, here's your actual answer. And again, you are rounding to the nearest 100. Okay. Now, this is another learn, so you can put your notebook to the side for just a second and listen and watch the video. So this page says use front-end estimation to check the reasonableness of sums and differences. So front-end estimation is another way of estimating, but instead of the problem telling you to round to the nearest 100 or 1,000, you're just going to use the digit that's in front. So in this case, we have two numbers that have a thousands place, so we're going to round both of those numbers to the nearest 1,000. It's the first digit we see, it's the front digit, okay? So what I want to do is I want to circle that front digit, look at the place next to it. I have an 8 in the place next to the 7, which means I'm going to let it soar and add 1 to that thousands place. And now I'm going to get 8,000. Same thing for the second one. I'm going to look at the place next to the thousands, and I see that it's a 6, which means it's greater than 5. So we're going to let that thousands place soar and add 1 to it, which means now we have 4,000. So 8,000 minus 4,000 is 4,000. So that's just a quick way of using front-end estimation. I know we didn't actually solve the actual answer in this problem, but I wanted you to understand how we use front-end estimation. So every time you see that, just know it's the greatest place value that we're estimating to. So on this page, it is a guided learning. So I want you to open up your notebook, write guided learning, and solve these two problems. Pause the video so that you're able to do both of the problems. All right, welcome back. Here are the answers. So the actual answer for number 2, and then estimating using front-end estimation. So in this case, the nearest thousands place. You should have gotten these two numbers for an estimate of 15,000. So 15,000 is very close to 14,716. So we can say that our answer is reasonable. The next problem, we got an actual answer of 5,119. Again, we want to use rounding to the nearest thousand since they both have a thousands place. That's the digit in front, the place in front. So it rounds to 8,000 minus 3,000. We subtract and get 5,000. So again, our answer is reasonable because 5,000 is very close to 5,119. All right, so now you have finished Chapter 2, Lesson 1 in your notebook. If you got any of the guided learning problems wrong, I want you to go back and rewatch the video. Ask a teacher for help if you still don't understand it. And if you did, then you can check the box and move on to your next assignment. Thank you, fourth graders.